Today's morning power up call. It is good to be here with you guys. Good to be doing this again. If this is your first time tuning in, quick 60 seconds. This is where the morning power up calls are all about. Every day, once every 24 hours, I gather everybody together. Everyone who can attend it live joins together for this call. Usually it's at this time, usually it's in this place. And I gather everyone together and I share a daily lesson. I share a daily idea. I give you guys a new perspective that will help you progress faster through the program, faster from being the guy who walked in the door to the guy who has earned his financial freedom. That's what I do these calls for. Every single day we join together. But there's two other sneaky reasons why I do this call. One of the sneaky reasons is I do this so that you have an opportunity to not feel alone. Because I know what it's like when you're the only one in your world who's actually pushing for something greater than what the average normal person is, where you're the different one. And it feels, I remember that feeling of loneliness before you have something like this, but now you have something like this. So I want you to understand that you're not alone. There are thousands of people joining in right now to this call across the world. And there are thousands and thousands more who will watch the replay later today, joining in to watch this video to absorb this information and push forward and achieve what you are sitting here seeking to achieve yourself. So that's the first sneaky reason. And second, the other sneaky reason is I want you guys to have more energy in your day. And that energy, that ability to push forward and conquer, that can be triggered by hearing someone else who has that energy, by joining together with other people. There's power in numbers. Not only do you get to feel together, but there's a feeling of invincibility and drive that comes when you surround yourself in a process like this live call every single day. Over time, those two things stack on top of each other, help you transform into the kind of person who can earn that financial freedom, who can be at the top of his game, who can reach unparalleled levels of success compared to the average friend who just likes to sit around and play video games or whatever. So those are my reasons, including my sneaky reasons, my until now non-stated reasons for doing this call with you guys. So I do them every day. I'm happy to do them. I'll continue to do them. We're at number 139 today, which is a lot of fun. We have pushed forward for a long time, and we're going to continue to do this. I'm excited to hit number 150 to 200, 300, 1,000. We're going to continue to do these calls forever because they're just a lot of fun for me. And it's fun to hear you guys use these ideas and these principles throughout your day and in order to go out and make some money and win and do some really cool things. So I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to do these calls. So today's lesson, how do I know if I'm on the right path? This one was prompted by a user. Let me see if I can pull it up. I think I can do this well enough that we can share the screen. I can actually show you the comment that prompted this entire train of thought for me, and is what we're going to talk about. Oh, wow, that is huge. All right, let's go ahead and see if I can share my screen. Like I said, like I often say, there's only one Mr. Producer, but I'm going to do my best job here. All right, you guys should be able to see this giant comment. I'll pop it up here so you can see the whole thing. There we go. Boom. Let's do it this way just so that way I know you can actually hear me. So, hi. That's from some guy, the Ask Professor Andrew channel. So every day, once every 24 hours, I sit down and I answer all the previous questions inside the Ask Professor Andrew channel. And this one was a fun one when I got to it. Normally it's little things like, how do I boost my reply rate for this part of my email, that kind of stuff. But every so often you get someone who kind of spills their soul and shares a lot of questions and ideas. And I found this one really interesting, the line of thinking here. And I think that it would be good to discuss with everybody. It's a long one. I'm going to read the whole thing out. She says, "Hi, Andrew. I've tried to find the answer the whole month that I'm here, but I haven't found it in the announcements nor frequently asked questions, and it drives me crazy. How do I know that I'm going on the right path? Like, I often sit around and think, is this sitting at the computer and writing emails, learning human psychology, going to make me a millionaire? Because basically all of us want to be one. Did all the millionaires one day just sat at their computer and did this, written thousands of emails, gone clients, etc.? How will I know this will give me financial freedom? Or is it just the basics to get some money? Or what are I think you mean things that I must sacrifice? Is it video games or porn? Is it time we must sacrifice, or our friends and family to watch lessons, make notes, learn, write emails, make notes, make ads, etc.? It is saying that you must do the hard work. Is the hard work sitting at a computer from morning to night? How can I make sure that if I follow this path True, I'm just in the boot camp still. It will get me eventually millions. I have never heard from anybody who is rich that they just sat somewhere and did their tasks, did the work, wrote thousands of emails, and became rich. I mean, I can't be wrong. I'm just curious because there's nobody that can answer me. Or is there something behind all this that just clicks in my mind and it will make sense? Or will all this motivation, dopamine, hard work, being better, learning just get me where I was in the first place? Not because I did not do all those things, but because there's something more valuable. All of that, which I've said, may not be true, but I would like to hear your opinion on the subject and correct me. Isn't that why we are here? If someone comes to me and I tell him what I do, he will ask me how I know it's the right thing to do in order to get financially free. How do I tell him, well, that what I'm doing will give me financial freedom? Thank you, Professor Andrew. Okay, giant rambling, like not rambling. He poured out his thoughts here. So we've got a lot of information, a lot of things to play around with. But his question is, how do I know this is the right path? And is there a better path? And how can he know that this is the right path? It was interesting. By the way he read this, I was thinking like, oh, there's no way you could ever super know according to the way he thinks. And that's something I like to do when someone shares thoughts and someone shares ideas. I like to kind of get in there and try to understand how they think. And I look at this and I'm like, based on the way he's thinking here, the way he's thinking about this, there's no way he could ever know any path was the correct path unless every single millionaire in the entire world got together and said, this is the one thing we all did. And I responded back to him and said, hey, Ben, like, this is really interesting. Let me share my thoughts on this. And basically what I told him, and I'm going to elaborate on this right now, is that there are a million paths to $1 million, right? Not any two millionaires have the exact same story. And fortunately, I have my own experience to look at. And I have the experience of talking with, I've probably talked with hundreds and hundreds of millionaires at this point in my life. Deep, detailed conversation. Did I say hundreds? Yeah, hundreds. Between the interviews, I've done a significant amount of interviews. I've talked with people. I'm fortunate to count many millionaires as friends, many millionaires. So I've been able to talk with a lot of people, and I want to talk with sort of from the reverse, because he's looking at it from this way. He's like, okay, we're doing all these tasks as copywriters will get me to $1 million, and I can talk about how that works. But let's talk about it from the reverse. Let's reverse engineer from all the millionaires I know. Now, if you look across all the millionaires I know, there are people who've gotten rich doing all sorts of things. Self-storage. I know a few of the copywriting millionaires, people who have made millions and millions of dollars in crypto. I know people who have made money in real estate. I know who have made money selling their own services online. I've talked to so many different people. And like I said, there's a million different paths. But if we want to reduce it all to the one thing they had in common, is that they had an opportunity to provide a significant amount of value at scale, and they took it. And they worked really, really hard to make that opportunity real, right? You are rewarded for the amount of value you make in this world. Sometimes all that value is you facilitated a transaction, right? You're trading stocks or bonds or crypto or whatever, right? You're facilitating a transaction at scale with high liquidity, and that is extremely valuable in this world. Sometimes the value is that you manage a construction company and are able to take time and money and turn it into tangible physical buildings that people use and that are worth like millions and millions of dollars, right? And you take your share of that. Sometimes you were able to write emails and content for 100,000 people on an email list that provide them so much value and provide them so much clarity on the path that they need to take that they pay you millions and millions of dollars, and you get a giant share of that. There's a lot of paths, but all of them involve providing value at scale, right? Now that we kind of talked about it backwards, we got a backwards direction. Let's talk about it upwards. Let's talk about it from the bottom up. So you guys are in this program. You're sitting there every day. You're doing your daily checklist. You're learning principles about human psychology. You're understanding about change, about motivation. You're learning how to write effectively, how to put words together. And you're also learning how to create funnels online. Okay, I need to create emails that drive people to this landing page, and the back end emails that drive them to the next upsell, and this type of content over here. And I want to understand this part of branding. You're learning all these things inside the bootcamp. Essentially, you are learning how to create value, right? You're learning how to impact human beings. You're learning how to sell one-on-one to people. Now, the better you get at that, the more compelling your writing is, and the better ability you have to sit down in any market, understand human beings, understand what motivates them, understand what their desires, what their pains and their fears are, and then understand how to help them understand the correct path forward, and then position a product as the best thing to get them through that path. The better you can do that, and then turn around, use all the tools at your disposal, from AI to all the copywriting frameworks and everything you use in order to communicate with them to get them to buy, that is a huge amount of impact you can make on any business in the entire world. Now, let's assume you have this ability to make a huge impact in the lives of people, for like in customers and for a business. You now know how to take a business and take it from 6 figures to 7 figures, from 7 figures to 8 figures. You can sit down and tweak the growth engine of any business because of your understanding of human beings and how to write to them in a way to massively improve a business. Let's say that that's the case. After you've gone through the boot camp, you studied, you learned, you practiced, you've reached that ability, right? So now you have this ability to make a huge impact. Now let's imagine and obviously you're going to take steps to scale. First, it'll be one client, probably not a huge client. You'll have one client, you'll help them make money at scale, and you'll get paid a pretty good amount. Then you get a bigger client and a bigger client. Maybe you'll have 3 or 4 clients. And from those 3 or 4 clients, you'll be making 3 or 4 or 5K a month per client. And so you're kind of in that 6-figure range, right? You're earning money because you're making this much value of an impact across this giant scale, right? Now, let's imagine you're able to either increase the value you provide or increase the scale that you provide. Usually the easiest lever is to increase the scale at which you operate. That means bigger clients, bigger markets. That means ownership inside of businesses. So that usually means you're taking on greater responsibility. But if you can increase those two things, mathematically, value times scale, you're able to create a lot of value in this world. You're creating tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars of value in the world. And you in return are always going to get paid as a proportion of the value that you create, right? So you're looking at millions and millions of dollars from a mathematical perspective using the tools that we've got. So we've kind of met in the middle. We've kind of met in the middle here with copywriting. Now, that's how you know you're on the right path. So either you're going to continue to get a few clients and help them at a deeper level and take advantage of their scale in order to make a lot of money, or you can do the agency route where you do basically what you're doing right now, but at scale because you bring on a bunch of other copywriters for hire. You're managing them and you're just doing it at scale. Instead of working with 3 clients, you're working with 30 or 300, depending on what you do, right? There's a lot of different ways that you can tap into opportunity and scale, value that you provide in the world and the scale. If you get the 2 right, it's math at that point. It's math. You're going to be a millionaire. That's just how it works. But the first step for all of you guys is you have to develop your ability to create a valuable impact on other people. And right now, most of you, when you walk in the program, you don't have that ability. You don't have any skills that allow you to massively impact individuals. So you can't massively impact individuals at scale, which is why in the beginning of the bootcamp, I give you this almost most valuable skill that I can personally think of, right? You understand how people work and how to influence them. And you have the ability to show up at any market, any company, understand exactly what they need to grow, and then build that marketing asset for them. That's a huge value, right? You'll be valuable no matter what recession happens, no matter what AI tool comes around, you will be an extremely valuable person, right? Then as you do the work, you will increase your scale over time and you will reach those high levels of financial success. That's the path. And you can know that it's the right path because of math, right? If you look at the actual physical laws of the universe, that's how it works. And you can also know it's the right path because it's a reverse engineer from all the millionaires I know. And you can ask any millionaire, did they have an opportunity? Did they do the hard work to take advantage of that opportunity at scale? And they'll tell you yes. Either they were really, really good at what they do. They were star athlete, right? They were the best quarterback in the entire NFL, right? Then they get paid at a huge scale because they're making a huge amount of value. They're providing value for a team. And then you multiply that with the scale of 150 million Americans watching football every whatever weekend. I don't know. I often joke that it kicked me out of Texas because I didn't like or follow football. It's something I've never been terribly interested in. I've been more interested in doing things personally, but that's just an example, right? Even a doctor, right? Look at a doctor, let's say a surgeon, the traditional way of making money, right? Let's say you're a family practitioner, right? You're making a huge amount of value of impact, right? You're helping people with their health. Extremely, extremely high paying market, right? You are solving giant problems, or at least like helping solve giant problems for people. Huge amount of value. And then you have a pretty good amount of scale depending on where you live, right? If you're a small town doctor in nowhere USA, you're going to make less than if you're a doctor in a larger market where there's a lot more money. For an example, I'm just giving you examples of the math so you can see how it plays out across different types of millionaires. You look at billionaires, and those are the kind of people who disrupt entire industries. Those are the kind of people who work at the scale of millions and millions and not billions of human beings. That's how you become a billionaire, which is the fun next game for some of us, right? Now, I want to talk to you guys about the other side of this. He was talking about, what do I need to sacrifice to get what I want? Do I need to sacrifice these things? So the universe is is strange. Someone asked me if I believe in like universal laws of the universe, and you think he was talking about some Tony Robbins, The Secret stuff, which I've talked about Tony Robbins in the past. I read one of his books when I was a kid. It was a pretty impactful thing for me, and I've done some other work that has stacked on top of or around that experiences I had as a young man. But I do want to talk about the idea of sacrificing things. There is a law of thermodynamics, and Tate talks about this quite a bit. The third law of thermodynamics, Newton's third law of thermodynamics, and that is that every action has an opposite and equal reaction, right? If you want to receive a valuable thing, you have to pay the price for that valuable thing. Nothing in this world is free. Now, you can take advantage of scale to where you can replicate your inputs. So you can put your inputs into different, more important or more effective paths for that energy return. But everything that you want has a price, essentially, right? And if you want something that is great and above average, you have to do great and above average things. You have to sacrifice some of the things that the average people do, right? I find it interesting every so often when I'm around different groups of friends or different groups of people from outside of my ideal group, I will encounter an interesting phenomenon. They all talk about what shows they're watching, right? They're, oh, I got this new show. I'm watching this. Oh, you should try this new show. And they recommend different shows for each other. And I find it interesting because I don't have a show, right? I'm not the kind of guy that has a show that he's watching. It's not me. It's not congruent with who I am. I have sacrificed that in order to receive bigger benefits. So instead of spending 20, 30 hours watching some show, I use that 20, 30 hours to improve my life because it feels better for me to improve my life, right? And it's rewarded me because of it. It's a small thing to sacrifice, but it's given me that much more results in my own life, my own personal journey for perfection or for improvement across all aspects of my life. You don't have to sacrifice friends. You don't have to sacrifice your family, right? I'm a father. I have 2 kids. I haven't sacrificed them. I have good relationships with my siblings and my parents and all that sort of stuff. This is part of how it is, but they do change. They do need to shift. It's not that you can invest infinite time anymore in your family or your friends. You have to be judicious about how you invest your time and your energy. And quality is more important than quantity. There's a quantity you need to hit as a person, but quality is way more important than that. And you can invest in significantly higher quality experiences the more money you make. That's a frank, honest truth of it. But when it comes down to it, you have to look at what you truly want in this world and look at the price it takes to achieve that. And usually it's a lot of hard work. Everything that's valuable requires a lot of hard work. And being successful in copywriting on this path is extremely important, right? Hard work is extremely important. You have to have the right opportunity and you have to work really hard to create a high level of impact at scale, right? There is a problem with the popularity of the Pareto principle. A lot of people talk about the 80-20 rule, right? The Pareto principle. 80% of your outputs come from 20% of your inputs. Tim Ferriss made it really popular back when I was a young man. Dude, that's funny to say. Dude, I'm getting old. Tim Ferriss is getting old. It's funny. But the Pareto principle got popular and people started to try and find that 20%. They got really, really obsessed with trying to find the most optimal little 20% that they could do in order to get the 80% of the results. I thought that was interesting for a while. I was kind of chasing that same high for a while. And I still try to identify what the most important factors are and optimize for those. But I heard Mark Zuckerberg say something, of all people. I heard Mark Zuckerberg say something that was extremely interesting. He said something along the lines of, he's like, the Pareto principle is cool, but it only gets you 80% of the way there. If you want to get to the 100%, if you want to be the very top, the very, very, very best you can possibly be, you have to put in the rest of the effort it takes to get you there. And that is the 80%, right? So you do the 20% of things really, really well, and then you still need to turn around and do the rest of those 80, maybe not all 8, maybe you do the rest of the 70 more percent of effort so you can get up there to the top 90 to 100%, right? Because there are people in the world who are willing to go that distance, and you're competing against them for the resources and things that you want. So if you want to live a top 1% life, you have to invest more time and energy and sacrifice some of the things that the 98% or 99% below you aren't willing to do. You have to go farther than them in order to perform better than to create a greater value in the world and to create a greater value at scale. So the Pareto principle, optimizing everything so you make sure you're on the 100% right, 1,000%. This is the best path in the entire world. Out of the billions of possible ways to make money, this is the one very best. I found it. Now I can get to work. Is a very, very good recipe for never finding your way to success, right? You need to be willing to find a path that works mathematically, that will get you there, that has the potential to take you all the way to the very top. And then you just need to work your way up that path. If you obsess over being 100% there and just making sure that you've got all your details right before you even start, you're not going to get very far, because there's always a different path. There's always some shiny object that can chase you away. If you find a path that it works, that it makes sense, like the way I've reasoned through this path with you guys, and it makes sense, it is to your advantage to invest 100% of your time and energy that you can into it, instead of waiting to find perhaps another better path. Because for sure, maybe in the huge universe we live in, there's some other different path, probably guessing the right lotto numbers. If you could do it, that would be way more efficient. What do you spend 5 minutes filling out a lotto ticket? Sure, maybe that'd be way more efficient way to make money if you possibly could. But sitting around and trying to figure that out is not worth it. You have a clear path ahead of you that will work, and it will provide you with all the intangibles you need to go from that millionaire mark to as far up as you want to go. The question is, are you willing to invest in it? Are you willing to put the time and energy into it? My friends, this has been a fun call. I've talked about some big principles, and I've shared some ideas. I'm very insanely grateful for this question, because it's given me the opportunity to share some ideas with you that I think will be very helpful. And I think it's helpful for a lot of you. These are questions that some people probably have but just haven't asked. And I'm glad that we're getting the chance to talk about them, because these types of questions are what's going to show you what you need to do on this path ahead of you, right? You've got the boot camp, you've got the legions, you've got you got the daily checklist, you got the things I'm teaching you on the daily, on these morning power up calls and the new trainings I drop in. At least 2 or 3 trainings a week for you guys, like big, full-on, in-depth trainings. Like you have all these resources, you have this path ahead of you, and it's good to know that kind of where it's leading and how it all works. I mean, this is the basics of the universe, man. These are the laws of nature. And if you take advantage of them better than other people do, then you get things that other people can't. And that's why we're all here. We want to, like this man said, you guys are all here because you want to be millionaires. You want to achieve that top level lifestyle. You can only do that if you're willing to put in the work that they aren't, and to take a path that you know will get you there and just go for it, right? It's very, 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 very important that you understand the implications that come from the stuff we've talked about today. So I want you guys to take some time to think about this today. Look at what you're doing. Look at your daily tasks. See how they map across these principles that I've talked about. Use these ideas to gain higher perspective and to move forward with greater energy, greater insight, and more power as you seek to achieve what others are too afraid to do. My friends, it's been a good call. I'll talk to you guys again tomorrow. Same time, same place. New ideas, new perspectives, things that can help you progress much faster. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.